Okay, welcome. Great to see you guys, and love that we can kind of like just flow in and out this week as you're able to, right? So the big commitment to be here every day for lunch, but glad that you're able to do that when it works for you. And I am going to put in a plug to make sure to be here Thursday for sure, because this is we're going to put all the pieces together. So we're stepping into this, and we'll just be kind of like tapping in as we go along. There'll be one little step. So when I work with this with my clients every day in our first like prep week of our cleanse, we have one habit that we do, one little thing that we're taking on, and then we have one action, right, of how we're preparing for our fall cleanse. And so yesterday, your one little habit to do was to go for a walk, your little homework habit, and just like enjoy that feeling of fall, or just sense into what does fall mean for you, right? In terms of the colors that are around you, the sound, the feel of the air, the crispness, kind of what that is in where you're living, what that feels like for you in fall. And I had I actually missed my walk this morning, or my regular time for my walk, because we had a major thunderstorm here in Winnipeg. I'm in Winnipeg for the week with my mom, and not typical that we would have a thunderstorm first thing in the morning, but it was thundering and lightning from about 6:30 till about, I don't know, 10 o'clock this morning. So our poor little dog here was not very happy, but that was the craziness and the variability that we see in fall as well. So we call in Ayurveda, we call fall our Vata season. And yeah, I always think V for Vata is invariable. It's just all about change, right? And there's these kind of crazy weather patterns that might come through. There's a lot of variability in the colors and in the day-to-day and what's going on. And that starts to ramp our nervous systems up, right? When things aren't kind of consistent, all of this change and this stuff that's going on is hard on us, on our nervous systems. And so this is the season where we need this comfort food, we need the big cozy blankets, we all of these things just to kind of keep us grounded, to keep us from blowing away in that wind. And it's really good for us to be grounded with our like daily habits and doing some things consistently within that. That's really, really important for us. So it's a great, there's extra motivation, I guess, in this season to be consistent with some of the things that we do. All right, I am going to share my screen, and we will get rid, oh, and it's edit. Okay, just a second. I'm going to not share my screen. Give me a pause on that. And we'll go to the right page on this as we get going, as we get started. I was putting this all together in one document. See if I can do this. Do two things at once. Okay. So we want to start off today actually with a little meditation. And the meditation is going to kind of bring us back into feeling what was going on. Just going to tap into remembering what we talked about last day, and then moving forward with this. All right, so I'm going to have you actually just close your eyes, or you can just like gaze on that little screen of the falling leaves. And just, I'll have you just sit up tall in your chairs, or if you're standing, you can just rock back and forth on your feet, uncross your legs if they're crossed. Feel your sitting bones just evenly on your seat. Feel you can rock back and forth and just feel them in there. I'll invite you to feel your feet where they touch the ground. Just notice them. Breathing in. Just a nice, slow, smooth breath out. Breathing in. Imagine that you can draw the energy up from the ground beneath you. And breathing out, just allow your breath to feel light. Again, breathing in, drawing in that strength from the earth below. Breathing out, just feel that lightness. And imagine with your breath that path of a leaf as it gently floats down towards the ground. Take a nice gentle breath in as that leaf catches an updraft. And then that gentle breath out as it floats lightly down again. Take a nice playful breath in and out. Just imagining that leaf as it just has that little floating sensation as it comes down towards the earth. Breathing in and breathing out until that leaf comes to rest gently on the earth. Then imagine walking through a pile of leaves. They might be yellow or brown or red or purple. Perhaps they're all mixed together. That sense of abundance and variety. Hear that crisp, dry crackle underfoot. Feel the crisp breeze on your face as you look up into the bright blue sky. Feeling at one with the world around you, connected to the season. No worries, no cares, just be totally present in this moment. Breathing in, breathing out. We want this season to be as simple and as natural as that leaf that's just letting go and gently floating through the air. Good, and you can just gently open your eyes, coming back to the present. Oh, I'm just going to back and present in here, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about what today's going to look like, right? So our intention today is really to understand what's going on in your body. So last day we talked about fall, what's happening in that world around us in the season of fall. And today it's more about understanding you, right? And how you fit into this. And yeah, so before we do that, I guess that first step of understanding was to go through our doshas. So that was your homework from last night. I'm just going to flip my AirPods in here. It's going to kind of noisy outside. What was anything that came to you, or any thoughts after our discussion there about that dosha test and what the answers came for you? Let's just kind of pop into that for a moment. Anybody have any thoughts?
I had a question, and you may have said this yesterday because I did it. Like when your numbers on two are fairly even, is that do you have to be fully into one type, or you can kind of be a combination, or does that shift over the year or age or things like that?
Yeah, it's a super good question. And quite often, like it's actually kind of probably rare to just be one, right? And to be totally dominant in one. It's probably more common to have like the two that are pretty close together. So anything within 2 or 3 or 4, depending on what the results are. Quite often we will be like that dual dominance type thing, right? And we'll call it like a Vata pitta, like whichever one's a little bit more, there'll be a Vata pitta or a kapha pitta or whatever that might be, right? It's more rare to be, even in all three of them, although there are people that are that for sure. It's probably a bit more rare to be that. But yeah, quite often we're looking at those top two that tend to go out. But two, we are everything. Like we have all three of them. We're going to evaluate today how those all go out of balance with us. And it can be a Vata and have a Kapha imbalance, or a Kapha and have a Vata imbalance, kind of those two opposite ends of the spectrum. That's totally possible to have that. And so you have your, this is where it gets a little bit tricky, right? So sometimes it's hard when you take those tests to take what you are feeling in the moment and those imbalances out of your answers, right? So sometimes we'll take the test and like think about, and I think I shared this with somebody else who was questioning this yesterday. Think about like taking the test as you were as a child or as a teenager or a young adult. Like take that, how are you typically in your life as opposed to right now is sometimes how we answer those questions, because we can skew the answers a little bit in terms of what that might be. I think I mentioned when I was an engineer, I would kind of skew it. I was always pitta vata in my answers. And then as a yogi with a more variable schedule and that type of thing, I tend to be more vata pitta, but that's more the imbalance that's kind of creeping in to being in that those numbers, right? Within that, especially when they have two that are close together, that can kind of get swayed a little bit by what we're feeling. And then two, good question about in terms of your life, like your dominant, they call it actually like a prakriti dosha, or your the born, how you were born, that doesn't change. But we also have like a dosha that is more of our variable nature, right? In terms of what that is. And we do change, we naturally change through our life cycles. So kids are in that kapha stage. Kapha is a bit cooler, a bit moister, tend to be congested, that type of thing, but they're also more grounded. They're totally present in the world. That's all the things as a child. The pitta is more that intense, fiery. There are midlife years that were our career years, or those years that we're kind of, making things happen and doing things, and we're active and we're on the go. It's a totally pitta time of life. And then we have our vata, or our wisdom years, where we're more spiritual in nature. We tend to be a little bit more frailer. We tend to be more suspect to joint issues and nervous system issues and all of that kind of thing. And these three areas also play into how our body goes out of balance and how it shows up in our body, right? Kids will tend to get a lot of colds, right? And that's kind of or a lot of congestion, or you'll be more prone to asthma and things like that as a young child, right? And then you kind of grow out of it through those pitta years where that fire kicks in. Their middle age years, we tend to get more, heart issues kind of coming into place, or skin inflammation and that, muscle inflammation coming into place, because those are the tissues, our pitta tissues in the body. And then our vata years is more, when you think like Alzheimer's is a total vata disorder, right? In terms of that, disorder of the brain, and any of those kind of cognitive things that are going along, the joint issues kind of coming into place, digestive issues, trouble sleeping, all of that is a vata type of a symptom, right? Coming into place. Does that answer that? Good help?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, good question and good clarification, right, for everybody on that. Okay, and so Renata's saying that her non-dominants are more out of balance than her primary, right? That you might be like super, good at, who you are and kind of grounded in who you are, and the other things can kind of pull you out of balance in the different seasons. That's a really good awareness on that too. Interesting, right? Okay. And we definitely find that we resonate with all three, right? That there will be times, or sometimes it's like, yeah, that's totally not me, but we do have all three things within us, within our bodies, and so we can't disassociate with any one or the other. We do have moments, or we have like, I might have like a vata mind and I call my belly is very vata. I can't like, process food very well. It's one of my challenges. Whereas pittas, I might have like a face inflammation type thing. I have like rosacea, so my skin is kind of pitta-like and my stomach is kind of vata-like. So there might be different parts of your body that embody the different aspects of your dosha type as well within that. Okay, so let's pop back in, and we're going to talk more about, actually, let's talk about our habit for today, or kind of our homework on that. Okay, there we go. So we're going to be talking about what's going on in our body, but one of the things that we want to start doing is opening our detox channels, right? So going for a walk and that movement is the one thing that's going to do that. The other thing is going to be one of these key Ayurvedic habits that's not just Ayurveda, like a lot of these are just ancient wisdom things from many different cultures, right? But starting your day with lemon water, or starting your day with hot water. So this gives us, it's kickstarting our digestive system. So our citrus oils are really good as digestive supports, but also really good at supporting the liver and cleansing in general. So I like to start all of my clients on, adding citrus to your waters. The difference, so there are some differences between fresh squeezed lemon and the lemon oil, right, that we use. And a fresh squeezed, they have different properties to them. You'll have more vitamin C, for example, or have vitamin C, in general, in the fresh squeezed element, where you don't have that in the oil, right? That's not part of what the oil is. It supports our immune system in other ways, but it doesn't contain vitamin C. Right. And but the other thing is that it doesn't have the acidity. So when we're adding oils, if you're sipping them all throughout the day, you're going to want to add a oil versus the fresh squeezed. Dentists get really upset if you sip on fresh squeezed lemon juice all throughout the day, because it's really hard on your teeth enamel, right? And that acidity level within your mouth is not what we need as our body. It's good to start the day with, but not as an all-day sipper. Right. So sometimes during a cleanse, I will switch it up and use the fresh squeezed as my cleanse, you know, ritual per se is in there. But typically throughout the year, I just add a couple drops of essential oil in there because it's easier to keep that kind of on hand. I can keep that in the bathroom the bathroom up in my bedroom. Doesn't have to be in the fridge, all those kind of things. So it gives that morning kickstart to our digestion. It's eliminating our toxins and it's stimulating our digestive juices as we get going in the morning. So lemon is the traditional citrus of choice for Ayurveda, but it's not the only one. So quite often I've heard, back in my Ayurvedic learnings about lime oil and lime oil for pittas to use lime. So summertime I switch it up and I use lime. When you look at the chemistry of these and you look at the chemical components of it, lime oil actually has more of the like calming down aromas or aromatics in it that like pacify the nervous system, which is another way. So the lemon is more like, clear, decisive, cuts through stuff, but that's what pitta already is. And the lime just kind of softens that. When we look at kaphas, we might look at something more like a tangerine or a wild orange. It just even has this more like body-loving ability to it and a little bit more softness to that as well. So we've got some different choices on what we can do there. I've got a little slide here on this. So your homework this week is going to be starting today, is going to be to start your day with lemon water. And we can even tap into this today, even though it's like not morning anymore. But have a cup of water or before you eat your evening meal, right? So again, you're just going to stimulate your digestive process. So that might be something, a way too, during our cleanse, how we just kind of like tweak our rituals a little bit during the cleanse to give us that extra boost. So instead of just having it first thing in the morning, maybe you're also starting or having a cup of warm water before you have each meal. Right. And so, so we can like choose the fruit that you're going to tap into, or the citrus you're going to tap into based on what you're needing in this season. Right. So here's our first little step of awareness. Do you need clarity and that cleansing? I think of lemon like it's added to dish soap, right? It's that scouring action. We actually use it as our label removers and all those types of things, right? Lime is more cooling, which may not be appropriate in this season, right? But it's more joyful, right? Grapefruit is a bit on the warmer side. It's that body love, craving support coming in through that. And then we have our tangerine, it's creativity. Tangerine is one of the oils that most supports our liver and our cleansing organs, right? So even more so than lemon, it has even additional chemistry to support that as well. Green mandarin is a beautiful one for hope and being fearless. Wild food is just all gratitude and abundance. It's a lovely oil for our fall, October. In Canada, this is our Thanksgiving season, and in the US, we step into that more in November timeframe. So that's going to be our habit, right? We'll give a little reminder of that. You can type in the chat if you like what oil you're going to choose or what citrus flavor you're going to choose. So you can use the fresh if you don't have the oils. If you have essential oils that are from the grocery store or from the mall, we don't use those internally. If it doesn't say safe to use internally, it isn't, because it's not typically, it may have additives or preservatives, or it may be synthetically derived. So you're only going to use oils that say they're safe for consumption on there, right? And that's not every essential oil out there. Okay, so we got some good answers in there. Lime or wild orange. Right, so there's different ways to get some vitamin C, right? The current leaves and staghorn, there's all different herbs and different things we can find locally to source that. We're not a good good suggestions on that, and things that we need to get back to our healing roots on, right? So a lot of this wisdom, it's all ancient wisdom that, I like to like jokingly refer to that it got burned at the stake, but it's not really a joke, right? That we left this behind, but now is just that perfect time for us to regain this. And we've got this, science is backing up all of these things to do that. See, I love that you're already doing the tangerine. You're stepping into that cleansing aroma already. Perfect. Okay. If you noticed, and hopefully this got sent out, I always like to double check my systems and that, but there was a little attachment in our email today with the fall cleanse planner. And if you didn't happen to get it or you don't have it handy, don't worry about it. But I am going to have you like keep a little post-it note or a little piece of paper beside you that we can just kind of do some check marks on. If you have that fall cleanse planner, you can feel free to like follow along in that or to print it out and have that with you. It's there just to make this easy, and you have some notes to kind of rely on as we go through this. And this again, this planner is basically the first part of the fall cleanse that I do with clients as well, right? So in this, we're going to dive deeper into this aspect of our doshas. And I believe this is page 3 on there. I think I've said page 2 in the thing, but really it's page 3. I gotta go correct that. So we have our doshas, what we are, and now we have what's out of balance. Okay, so we're going to start off from that with the pitta season, right? Because we've just come out of that pitta summer season. So let's kind of start there with what's going up there. Let's take a look at this checklist. It's a long checklist. There's quite a few that probably don't have everything totally on here as well, but kind of check off how many of these are showing up in your life. So red and inflamed skin or rashes, acne breakouts. Are you prone to cold sores right now? Achy muscles or joints, acid reflux, heartburn or ulcers? Are you hangry? Are your stools kind of loose? Overheating, hot flashes, irritated, frustrated, angry, judgmental, critical, intolerant? Do you have red and sensitive eyes? Are you overly perfectionistic in the moment? Do you have a red, irritated tongue? Are you prone to any sore throats or bad breath? Or some food allergies? Kind of like look at all those, evaluate the last few weeks, what's going on in your body, and then give yourself a score. What's your pitta imbalances? And you can pop those in the chat if you like, just like a P equals, and we'll, keep that going on that. And that'll also give me a clue too when you guys are done. I can move on to the next one. Okay. All right. So where's our Vata showing up for us? Right? So this is our fall symptoms. Are you feeling anxious or overwhelmed? Do you feel kind of restless or kind of fidgety? Do you have dry skin or chapped lips? Do you tend towards constipation in the moment? Do you experience gas or bloating? Are you underweight, losing weight you can't afford? Do you have cracks in your tongue? Are you less tolerant to loud noises? Do you have restless or interrupted sleep? Are you finding it difficult to focus? Do you have poor memory? Indecisive or procrastinating on things? Disorganized or just lacking that confidence? Are you overthinking and worried or affected by the wind? And you can add up what your V score, what V equals, and what does that look like for you? Yeah, just because we're in Vata season doesn't mean it's Vata that's out of balance, right? So this becomes a really key piece in how we're putting that cleanse support together. Okay. And then the next one, you can guess, is our kaphas, right? What's going on into your kapha energy in your body? Is there excess mucus or congestion? Do you have a deep wet cough or a thick white coating on your tongue? Are your bowel movements slow? Do you feel just heavy and lethargic? Difficult to wake up in the mornings? Are you feeling stubborn or just resistant to change? Slow to make decisions? Maybe you can't say no. Maybe you're feeling depressed or lacking motivation. You're feeling just possessive or overly attached to things. Feeling it hard to let go. Maybe you're prone to emotional eating, that food is kind of your crutch, that comfort foods are just a little over the top this season, or that you're craving those sweet, heavy foods. You can put your little number. What does your key imbalances look like? You've got a few high scores on the kaphas. That's interesting to see, right? And what's going on there. Okay, so basically what this means, 5, like in total and anywhere, is like imbalances things off. Even 1 is something's going off, right? Depending on where you're at in your journey. But definitely if you've got a few of those going on, that's where we're going to address. So now when we have Vata, if you've got, if Vata's neck and neck, if you've got like 2 that are close and one of them's Vata, we treat Vata. Right. So typically when Vata's out, everything goes out. It's kind of the philosophy on that. But if you've got one that was a 10 or an 8 or one of those top ones, then that's where you want to put your focus. Right. So just to kind of re-say that or to reiterate, if you've got Vata out of balance somewhere, it throws everything else out of balance as well. So because this is a fall cleanse, that is definitely something that we'll be, prefacing in or coming in on. But you may find that there's other things that need to be addressed. And so that's Thursday. We're going to kind of put all those pieces together. Tomorrow we'll talk about all of like the different like options or different cleanse modalities or tools and rituals that we can do. And then Thursday we're going to match them up with these scores as to how does that fit together in your little jigsaw puzzle of what's the right thing for you to be doing this season. Okay. Because there are kind of these 3 keys. Anybody, actually, before we move on to this, anything that people are finding, anything that was surprising to you, of what's going on there?
And it's not all in my head.
Right. Yeah. It's nice, right? It's nice to have that awareness, right? That it's not all imaginary, right? There's something going on.
Well, I think you shared at one time about that it's not necessarily like keep it where it belongs. Like it's you didn't say it this way, but it's more in the body, and there is a reality to a shift. And that I'm not crazy.
Absolutely.
Like
right?
Yeah.
Like awareness is the first step. We're going to see that in this next slide, that awareness is it's the key to everything. Like once we're aware of it, it's like, oh, and we can relax about it. Once we kind of know perhaps what's causing it, right? Or what's kind of influencing it. On that. And joy, absolutely. It can, if you're in the middle of being sick, that's going to throw things out, but it's also a big sign. Like there's a reason that you're sick and that things go out of balance, and that's why we get sick, right? So there's kind of both. So it could be, twinging your numbers in a certain way, but it's also, the fact that you're sick or having reoccurring illnesses and things like that. There's all these signs and these signals that your body is giving you. And then you can kind of look when we're sick, are we Vata sick, Pitta sick, or Kapha sick? Right? Like, what is that element? Like, what was the driving force that threw us into this stage? Right? Yeah, good one on that too.
Well, I often don't get sick. Like I don't get colds. I sort of go in this like, if I got sick, I go, oh, I'm sick, and then I would rest. But I never get sick enough, which I don't want to be, respectfully. But
totally right. Yeah, ideally, if things are kind of in line, our body isn't as susceptible to things that are coming through. And that's kind of our goal, right? Is to not as be as susceptible. But sometimes things happen, right? And we just catch that nasty bug, or we're in the wrong space, and some bugs are just there to be caught, right? And so how can we recover from those as best as we can? Right? Yeah. Anybody else have any ahas on things that are popping up for them? Or questions about it? Okay. So coming into this, we have these kind of the keys of how we're putting this all together. So that one is the awareness. So you have that awareness of the season, and this awareness of our body. So your dosha, your true nature, you can call that, right? We have the awareness of what's going on with you today and in this season happening within that. And then we're going to piece this together with some timing issues, right? And timing, that's a whole other like realm of things in terms of our circadian rhythm and a whole bunch of different things like that. You can do a cleanse just basically shifting the timing of when you eat can really impact and cleanse through your body, right? If you're intermittent fasting, you can do, there's different nuances depending on if you're on a cycle or not on a cycle of how you should be doing that. That has great impact onto your health. So timing is a big thing, right? And that's one of the areas I think that we're out of sync the most as humans in terms of Mother Nature's rhythms on that. We'll talk about kind of the timing and what's going on for you, and then we bring all that together to create that whole picture within that. Kind of think of it as this 3-step thing. So coming into timing, and there's another page for you in your workbook planner if you're following along there too. Where are you? What's available? What's your availability? I think I tried to change this slide at one point. So what's available, or what's your availability? In terms of energy levels, like what do you have energy for this season? Right? So say you've got a big, huge kapha number on there. It's like, yeah, I really need to feel a lot lighter. But my energy is super depleted, right? Like you don't have energy to do like hardcore yoga every day or a core exercise or whatever that might be to kind of get that lightness off. So we're going to match these things up to find the right key to how that works. So if you've got tons of energy, it's like, yeah, I'm really super keen to get started. I want to make some changes. I've been sedentary for too long. I need to get going. That's great. Like rate your energy super high. And then what's your capacity? Like what's your emotional capacity? Where are you at on that emotional spectrum on taking something new on or learning something new? Are we going to be baby stepping this, or are we going to be taking some giant leap? Right? What's that capacity for change that you have this season? And what's your timing? Like realistically, do you have a couple big projects going on at work? Do you have a lighter workload? Do you have a bunch of stuff going on with the kids? Or whatever that might be in your sphere, right? What's that availability for you to step into this? And because we can design the perfect cleanse for you, but if you don't have time to do it, it's not going to work. Or if it's too light and you're just not stepping into it, it's not enough for you, then you're going to be searching and looking for more in that either. So there's that kind of that perfect element on there. So you can kind of like rate yourself on that 1 to 10 of what's your energy like, what's your capacity, emotional capacity for this, and what's your timing like, right? And we're going to factor all of that in. Okay, so I'm leaving you with some like just unanswered questions today. So a lot of it is just like we're putting those steps in, we're taking those baby steps, but we don't have any solutions yet, and that's okay, right? So that's where you're going to just tap into, again, going for your walks, enjoying those, citrus teas and stuff to kickstart your day, kickstart that cleansing process, because we want to be opening these channels for letting things go, for having our detoxes. And then tomorrow we're going to go full on into what are some of the tools that we use to do this. Both essential oil tools that we can use to amplify things, our yoga, our meditation, all those different aspects, and the different like realms, the medium, the light, medium, heavy kind of thing on the different, capacity ranges that we can go into on this. So that's going to be, we'll have our smorgasbord of stuff tomorrow, and then Thursday is the day we put it all together coming into that. All right. any questions, ahas going on with that?
I think my aha is further to understanding that I'm not crazy. And that just being gentle, because I'm super exhausted and tired, but my mind still wants to do something. So there was a disconnect. So understanding that, how to reconnect that. And I'm a big intermittent faster, but right now all I want to do is like eat, and I eat the wrong foods. Like I'm really created a really lovely pattern to unpack.
Absolutely. And yeah, absolutely, Giselle, I'll resend that planner to you as well on that. Anybody else not
What,
get
sorry?
that? Just commenting on something in the chat. Yeah, absolutely, Sheila. It's there is this kind of dichotomy sometimes that happens. Like our mind wants to do this, but our body is saying no, right? And your mind wants to go, 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 and that body's like, wait a minute. And if we don't listen to that, the good things that you do are actually digging you further in a hole, right? And actually depleting us more than they're building us back up again. So, and sometimes we want to look at this and what's the easiest, what's the simplest thing I can do? Because quite often we go, go, go too much. And we could actually go further by doing less and coming into that less.
When I was attributing it also to, like, I don't drink as much anymore, like wine, like just, not that I don't, but I thought, oh God, I couldn't even imagine if I was having a drink right now, I'd be like flat out on my back, not advocating.
Yeah, no, but it's one of those, 80-20 that we do want to, enjoy life in certain situations, but we want to be able to do that, right? So how can we even be able to be in those celebratory moments and that type of thing when our body is in this depleted mode? Or feeling like that you don't need that as you're doing your celebratory things as well, right? So
right.
Yeah, no, it is such a delicate balance of doing too much, right? And this is the season I'm going to be encouraging everybody to do less. So we'll take our plans and we'll like even half them, right? What's your goal, and what's like take that in half, and that's going to be your intention for the week as we go along. All right. Anybody else?
That's an interesting aspect about doing too much because, with this fall harvesting and stuff, you're trying to get a bunch of stuff done before the winter comes in. So I find I've really noticed it, like, particularly today, even though I've had good sleeps, I'm tired. Just because I'm out there, cutting down all the perennials that need to be cut down, and then harvesting some vegetables and et cetera, et cetera. And I'm doing double duty because my friend's got a big garden, perennial garden, and she's injured. She's hurt her back. So I just find, like, today it was like, oh my God, I went swimming and I enjoyed my swim, which is great. It started the morning too. But that tiredness is just there. And so in terms of my tiredness, I think it's physical tiredness.
Yeah. And what can you do? What little things can you do then to replenish that? Right. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll be looking for those opportunities tomorrow and our different things. Like what can I find sometimes even just like taking a 15-minute nap, or just, letting my mind go to something else for a little bit. Great.
I was just going to ask you, what were those little things that you might suggest? I was just going to say, like, yeah, but you've answered it.
Yeah, that, and then making sure too that that you're getting the nutritional support, right? That your supplements are on, that you might need to up some things, right? That you need more of certain, like those building blocks, right? Our muscles need the building blocks to be there, whether it's extra protein in the morning or whatever that might be, right?
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Anybody else? questions at this point, or ahas, or just things that they're noticing in their bodies?
I feel heavy. I think you've already shared that. I mean, I do feel heavy, not like as in weight, but just like the weight of like the universe, or the, you know, all the stuff I can feel. And it's not a negative weight. It's just like a not lethargy, but just a pressure maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I
it's
want to
all
go
these,
to
like,
sugar.
right. Then we have those that emotional, crutch, or that, what are we hungry for? And food jumps in, but quite often it's not food, right? It might be
Oh, so what is
support,
it?
it might be connection, it might be
Um,
water, it might be purpose, it might be, any of those things.
Yeah, and I
Mhm.
notice my water. It's funny you say that. I notice that the intake of my water, I don't have the desire for it. What about the apple cider vinegar? Like I intermittent
Mhm.
fast, so I don't eat till like noon or ish. Is that like
Mhm.
the lemon oil in the morning, or the apple cider vinegar?
Yeah, they do different things. And so
Okay.
you can double up on them, or you can, do one or the other. The apple cider vinegar isn't going to be as much as that liver support cleansing. Like, it does definitely kickstart our digestion and do a bunch of great things, but they do slightly different options, right? So you can even add a drop to your apple cider vinegar if that tastes okay. You can find an oil that works with that. Your tangerine or your wild orange might be really good in that regard. So you can kind
Which
of
one?
double that tangerine or wild orange that you would kind of prefaced in there, I think
Oh,
might be really
yeah. I,
good
I, I wish they
flavors
sold
with.
that in liter sizes.
Right. Yeah. Hmm.
Well, I have in my car, I have my little diffuser, that one I told you, that'll pot. And I can't
Yeah.
get enough of the wild orange in the car. So I can't, and it makes me happy. It was funny because in the summer or the hotter, it was more of the earthy stuff or smells I liked. And then this wild orange, I can't, like, I need about a case of it because I just love it and it makes me feel better.
Hmm. Yeah. It's like happiness in a bottle, right? Yeah.
Oh,
Good.
yeah.
And it totally fits with the season, right? In terms of what's going on. Yeah.
And my personality, I'm just wild. Kidding.
Hmm. Hmm. And Joy, really good question about the the products, like, for your cleanse. Absolutely. And it really depends on where people are at in their journeys. If someone is totally brand new to essential oils and supplements and that type of thing, there's a kind of just a basic, like the daily habits or healthy habits kit is definitely, and we'll go into more details on this tomorrow. I'll have some slides and stuff, but those are definitely just starting on the LLV, or the lifelong Dr. Lifelong Vitality, or starting on a really good, multi-nutrient and antioxidant will kickstart a cleanse, right? It's just starting on our, these little tiny daily habits that we do between supplement support, essential oils, and the Ayurveda pieces. That's a cleanse right there in itself, right? If you're already on this and doing that, I would amplify this, but with the Zendocrine, there's some cleansing products with that, and the Zendocrines and the GX Assist. But that's like the next step, next level thing. If you're brand new to any of this, that would be too much too fast, right? And so we kind of ease into it before we do that. So any clients of mine, I usually have them do 3 months of just pure supplements and habits and oils before we dive into any sort of a deeper cleanse than that, because we want to make sure that all those pathways are open before we like start hitting them with the detox stuff that's coming through on that.
I'm yearning for that feeling that I had when food wasn't. Remember that time there was those plate of French fries, and I thought, oh, I don't have any desire to eat them. And then the other time, I was inhaling them and snorting them, and you're like, yeah, what fries? I'm yearning for that feeling again. So I don't know how, like, I know, like, yeah, that feeling of just ease.
Yeah, it'll come for
Yeah,
sure.
I know.
Especially, I love this, when we go into the fall cleanse and kind of we putting that together. There's so many great foods that we have available in the fall to eat that satisfy those urges, that it kind of readjusts our taste buds, right? So we don't need the extra salt on things. We don't need the extra sugar. We just like notice those pure flavors again. And that totally can reset what your body is craving for or what it needs. Like but all of a sudden it's just like, oh, I can't do that. It's way too sweet. Whereas during the summer, it's like, yes, give me that ice cream sandwich, right? Like I want that. I had that those little ice cream things you get on the stick with the chocolate around it,
Listen
like
to you.
whatever
You
they're
don't
called.
focus on this at
Right?
all. No, yeah.
Right? That's my little treat. But then, stepping into like after the cleanse, it's like, yeah, no, I couldn't have that at all. I'm coming into that. Giselle,
See,
you're
my
asking about the
sugars,
go
well,
ahead.
in
Yeah.
the summer, my sugars, I had less sugar cravings, but now I seem to have more, which I don't like. I was eating too much licorice.
Well,
I'm not going to tell you how much.
sugar balances. So Vata is balanced, or fall energy is balanced by sweet, sour, salty, right? And so if we're not getting those naturally through foods, then we'll crave the bigger versions of those, right? And that they're grounding foods, they're comfort foods. So there's a reason why we have those. There's also a reason why, like in the wintertime, we have all these like beautiful spices in our Christmas cookies, right? Ayurvedically, that's okay. Like we're supposed to have those spices. We're actually like through the winter, like the full on winter, like if we pass through this fall, we need that extra little bit of, nourish and comfort for those cold winter months, right? And depending on what hemisphere you're in and where you're at in the world, kind of within that. But that's totally an okay thing, right? Ayurvedically to crave those and to want those, to have that.
And when the last Ayurvedic, what does it mean? Like,
So Ayurveda, and I keep throwing this word around, and that's a good question.
Yeah.
It's Ayurveda is the ancient wisdom, like tradition from India, right? And so, like traditional Chinese medicine is from China. Ayurveda is from India, and actually, Ayurveda predates traditional Chinese medicine. There's a theory out there that some members from China went to India to learn about this, and then went back and created TCM, or traditional Chinese medicine, right? So they're very much linked. They're very similar. I look at traditional Chinese medicine like took a like more in-depth scientific approach to it, and the Ayurveda was just more that initial kind of burgeoning of it. But it is this ancient wisdom theory that comes from India. So yoga is a part of Ayurveda. Meditation is a part of Ayurveda. But there's this bigger aspect of just our whole, lifestyle and what we eat. So everything, there's this like phrase or idea in Ayurveda, everything starts in the gut, right? Which is now Western medicine is now realizing it's like, oh, microbiome, hello, right? Everything starts in the gut, right? We produce our sleep hormones there, we produce our stress, stress responses in there. Everything, begins and ends in the gut type thing, right? So that's kind of the aspect of Ayurveda that we look at in the from
well,
it.
some
So
theory is
that's
that
where that
everything
comes from.
starts in the stomach. Yeah. Okay. I get it. Okay, cool. Awesome.
Yeah. And so they have that theory. The doshas all come from Ayurveda. Another, big principle is that like attracts like. So if we're going out in a certain area, right? So if you're kind of feeling heavy, you're going to crave heavy, right? But opposites balance. So when we're craving heavy, when we have that opposite side, we do things that are more lighter in nature, like having your wild orange, that's going to bring you back into balance again, right? And into that state. Okay, so Giselle, you were asking about the difference between wild orange and tangerine. So there's a slight like scent difference. There's a slight like there are different fruits on them. They're both orange, right, in nature. So they have lots of similarities, but there are slight differences in their chemistry and how they react to things. Both wild orange and tangerine are really good for liver cleansing and support. Within that, they're quite similar in terms of like their molecular structure. They're going to be quite more similar, those two, than like a lemon or lime coming into that equation, right?
Okay.
And protein, is a really big aspect. Does that answer the question on that one, Giselle, in terms of which one to use?
Yes. Yeah. No, I was just
Yeah.
curious because if you only had one or the other oil, that's all. That's why I was asking.
I kind of use
question.
Those ones are quite interchangeable, those two. There are slight like nuances, and they will prefer the scent or the flavor of one over the other. But in terms of chemistry wise, they're pretty similar. But
I
not
like
exactly.
the word wild. That's why I draw towards it.
Right. Yeah.
No surprise there, Sheila.
I know. I'm just saying.
Right. It's our true nature, right? The wild child. And then on the protein side, protein is a really big factor, especially when it comes to managing our blood sugar responses. right? And so it's a big building block. It's one of those macronutrients that we need. So our proteins and our essential oil, like our not essential oils, but our essential fatty acids, call them, like our oil substance, coming into that. Those are kind of our big building blocks of, you know, things our body needs. And when we're looking at managing our blood sugar support, tapping into that protein, especially early in the day, is a really key component of doing that, and incorporating that throughout our day with it. You know, managing that is huge.
Okay,
So we'll be
thank you.
talking about that some more. Like when we do, so our Flourish coaching, they'll go on throughout this season. So the coaching program that I do lasts from October all the way to the end of January, actually. So we're doing the whole Vata season of coaching. And so one of the things we'll be tapping into is how to intermittent fast as women. And the other one is going to be some of blood sugar responses and how do we, you know, manage that, because science is finding that our blood sugar metabolism is kind of that linking point to like everything in our body, right? It is kind of that key factor for mental health issues, for heart issues, for brain or Alzheimer's, all that kind of stuff. Inflammation, everything starts with blood sugar, right? So if we can get that into control again, then and that will be one of our options for the cleanse, of like a whole blood sugar stabilization protocol on that.
Okay. Thank you. I have a meeting in 5 minutes, so
All
and I
right.
can't make tomorrow, but I will watch the recording.
Good to have you here. And yeah,
to see
take care,
you.
Giselle. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Okay. Anything else? Any last questions before we head off today? Have I given you enough to think about today?
Yes.
Good, good. Baby steps, right? Just one step at a time. And by the end of the week, we'll have this kind of all put together for you guys as to what the plan is for fall, right? All right, great to see you. Great to see those attending live or catching the recording later. We welcome you. We like make space for you in all of this. And feel free to reach out if you have any questions in between our sessions. Feel free to send me a quick note. And if I don't get right back to you, because it's I will make sure to address it on the next call in terms of what we're doing, right? All right, everybody, have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.